Hi there everybody, and welcome to another Blossom Crochet tutorial. I really hope that you will love this tutorial as much as I enjoy making these beautiful hats. Now this is obviously a hat that I have made for my daughter, and everything that you need to know to make this whole hat will be done in this video, and all of the information down below. So in the description box will be all the sizing information that you need as well. But this is the finished bobble hat. I think it looks really good and I'm thrilled to bits with it. It is so incredibly simple and takes next to no time at all to make. And I have left the Pom Pom shop in the description as well. But for this particular hat that I've got here as my demo hat, I used some Hayfield Spirit DK in the shade Sundown and some white Colour Crafter DK. So I used 2 strands of DK yarn together, and then I used a 6mm hook for that. But you can use any hook, any yarn that you want, whether it's super fine or DK or 2 strands of DK or even super chunky. You can use absolutely any yarn and whatever hook is recommended for that yarn, and you will be able to create this beautiful bobble hat. So we're just going to crack on with it now. So for the purpose of the beginning of the tutorial, I'm just going to be using some leftover chunky yarn scraps that I've got here. This one is just paint box chunky. So you want to start obviously with a slip knot, and I'm using just the recommended hook size of 6mm for this yarn. This starting chain is going to be the height of the hat, so it's not going to be the circumference of the hat, it's going to be the height, so the bit from eyebrow to the top of the head. Now I like to do my hats with the folded over brim, and so for a teenager / adult hat you're looking at a starting chain of approximately 14 inches thereabouts. So you want to do a chain, so this is why it doesn't matter what yarn you use. You could use DK right up to super chunky, but you just want your starting chain to be a length of approximately 14 inches. And for a younger child, like the one that I've made for my daughter, you're looking at between 11 and 12 inches for this starting chain. So obviously starting chain is a simple yarn over, pull through, yarn over and pull through, and so on and so forth. So you just want to complete this foundation chain to your required length. So obviously, as I say, depending who you're making it for, and just make sure that you have got that tape measure handy. Okay, so I think I'm pretty much there, so I'm just going to do a quick measure. I just need a little bit more on that one, I think. So let's just test that again. So you don't want to be pulling this really tight or anything, you literally just want to make sure it's straight and hold it out. So you can see there now my chain is 14 inches, so I'm making an adult hat this time. And so once you've got your chain to be the length that you need for your hat, you just want to add on an additional 2 chains. So once you get to your 14 inches, add on 2 chains so that when we work back along, we're not taking any length away from what we measured just now. So you're going to be... Sorry, we have a visitor on the table yet again. Let me just get rid of this 4-legged nuisance. Sorry about that. So into the 3rd chain from the hook, so we've got 1, 2, and this is our 3rd chain. You're going to be doing a half treble crochet. So a half treble is the only stitch that you will need to know throughout the whole of this project. And remember, I am working in UK terms, so my half treble is half double crochet in the US. So yarn over, insert into that 3rd chain, yarn over and pull up. You'll have 3 loops on your hook, yarn over and pull through all of those loops. Yarn over, do a half treble into the next stitch. So yarn over and pull up, yarn over, pull through all three. And you're going to simply work one half treble crochet into every single stitch. So nice, easy opening row. And to be fair, that's pretty much as hard as it's gonna get. So yeah, I will meet you once you get back to the other end and we will start onto the next row. I'm just doing my very last stitch now, and as you can see my work has curled up like a little pig's tail, and that's absolutely normal, it's nothing to worry about. And at this point I highly recommend just giving your work a measure just to make sure that you've still got the right length, because it's much easier to make any adjustments now than ripping out the whole hat when you find that it didn't fit. So mine is measuring very, very slightly over the 14, but that's absolutely fine for me. And like I say, if you're measuring over or under, just go back and either add on a couple more chains, or if it's too long, then go back and just rip out 3 or 4 stitches and then work back along again. So now, and for the entirety of this project, you are going to repeat this row. So you're going to turn your work around and you're going to work you're going to work a half treble height stitch, but we're not going to chain 2 because that leaves a big gap and I don't particularly like it. So we're going to insert our hook through the whole of that first stitch. So you can see I've got the V on the top there. Yarn over and pull up, you'll have 2 loops, yarn over and pull through both. And this stitch now has 2 vertical parts to it. You want to go behind the one that's closest to your working end, yarn over and pull up, again 2 loops on your hook, yarn over and pull through both. And that just gives us a good height stitch, but it's quite fat and so you don't get a big gap. We are now going to work in the back loop only on every single stitch, doing a half treble crochet. So remember, that's UK half treble, US half double. So you can see all the way along we've got these V shapes or arrows, and you're going to work into the back one. So you're not going to go through the whole of the stitch, you're not going to go through the front, you're going to go on the back loop. So again, yarn over, insert through the back, yarn over and pull up and complete your half treble, yarn over through the back loop, yarn over and pull up and complete. So you're going to work that all the way along now, and I will meet you at the other end where we will finish off the row. I meant to say as well, with thinking ahead about keeping your edges nice and straight, when you complete that very first stitch, so that funny little stitch that we did at the beginning of this row, mark it with a stitch marker so that when you come to the end each time you will know exactly where your final stitch needs to be placed. So I'm pretty much at the end now. I've worked into the top of that very first half treble from the previous row, and then we've just got that funny little chain to work into as well. So always make sure you work that final chain on your first row. Obviously the rows from here will be different because you'll be able to work into the whole of the stitch where you'll have popped your stitch marker. So you're going to repeat that row over and over again. So you'll turn, you'll do your funny little work up stitch, and obviously rewind if you need to, and then you will mark the top of that stitch you've just done and work again all the way along in back loops only. But I'm just going to stop here for a second with this one, and I'm going to say something I've always wanted to say. Here is the one that I made earlier. And you are going to continue working your rows of back loop only until you have something that looks like this. So you can see we have got absolutely perfect straight edges, absolutely spot on straight edges. We don't have any gaps that you would get from your chaining 2 because we've done those fat little stitches. And as I say, you're going to work up as many rows as you need to get to your desired circumference. But again, all of the measurements will be in the description box. But this is one for my daughter, so it was obviously for a younger child, but for an adult you would want to have a length. So you'll have your 14 inches height, but your length for your circumference you will want about 22 inches. But obviously try it around your head yourself. If you don't want it to be measure 22 inches with it just as it is, you want to have to pull it slightly to get the measurement, so that way obviously it won't be too big on your head. So for my daughter's hat, so a child's hat, we're looking at around 19 inches. So like I say, I'm just leaving mine really loose, and that is only measuring 17 inches. But when I give it a little stretch, which is what you would want to do with your hat when you're wearing it, it measures 19 inches. So as I say, this is my daughter's hat. But once you've got to that point, you want to snip off your yarn, but leave yourself a really long tail, because we're going to use that to join our sides up and also gather the hat at the top. So make sure you leave yourself a great big long tail. So I'm just going to deal with the starting tail first and foremost, and just get that weaved in. Snip that one off. So you want to obviously fasten up your yarn with your darning needle, and I'm going to fold the two ends together, and we are really simply, let me just zoom in, going to stitch these two sides together. So you've got your hat folded in half, you've got your working end on the bit that's closest to you, and you can see you have got stitches either side that you will be working into. Obviously one of them is the starting chain, so it is slightly different working in the other one, but you should have just as many chains on each side. So I'm going to go through the whole of that first stitch and the whole of the stitch on the other side, and then back through the next one, through those stitches, and then again through the next and the other side, and back through the next one, and the stitch on the other side. So you're just going to work that all the way along, backwards and forwards, until you get to the other end. Okay, so we've joined that now, and that has still created a ridge. You should still be able to see all the nice ridges. It shouldn't stick out like a sore thumb or anything like that. And now that that is joined together, we want to work all the way around this top edge here. So we're going to work all the way around the top edge where we've got our working end, and we're going to just literally work some quite big stitches. You don't want to be doing loads of tiny stitches. You want to do relatively decent sized stitches backwards and forwards through the top of this edge. So you don't need to be pulling tight or anything at this point. You literally just want to be gathering stitches. It doesn't need to be super neat or anything like that. You just want to be working through the top edge of the hat. So, like I say, there's no great finesse required for this particular part of your hat. You just want to keep working all the way around. Obviously just keep a note of where you started from, because it might not necessarily be too obvious. So where your seam is from where you've joined, just make sure you keep an eye on where that is so that you know when you get back around to it. So I'm not far from where I started from now, so I may as well just stick with you. Okay, so I'm back round to where we started from now, and we are literally just going to pull this working end until your hat closes up. So don't pull on it too tightly just for the minute, because you obviously don't want to snap your yarn, but just keep pulling until the top of the hat comes together. So you may need to give it a little wiggle to make it neat. Okay, so you can see there I've still got a very small hole. So instead of just pulling the yarn till it snaps, just hold your top of your hat together and just work some extra stitches backwards and forwards. I do apologise once again for the noise that the cat is making. I should have put him out, but it's too late now. And he is snoring away and absolutely not being subtle about it. So yeah, just keep working stitches backwards and forwards. Across the top of your hat until it is completely closed up. Sorry, I'm laughing at him now. Okay, so I'm pretty happy now with the top of my hat being secure and closed. So I'm just going to pop my needle through the hat, and I'm just going to bring it the other way up for a second, and I'm going to pull that yarn through, and then I'm very quickly just going to do a little knot, and I feel ready now to just weave in this end like you would on any other project. So just pick a place to weave in. Obviously I'm going for a similar colour and just weave that end in. I think I'm actually going to have to go and put him out because he's so noisy. So just weave your end in nice and securely. And I'm happy with that now, and I'm going to just snip off, turn it back the right way. So obviously at this point I can just fold over. So I've got a nice brim there now. And that is, let me just zoom out a little bit. And that is how my hat is looking at the minute. So nice and rainbowy. You may want to just neaten up a little bit where we've tightened it all up, and you can see obviously we've got the nice brim. Now you can leave this loose or you can tack it a little bit, so using just a little bit of yarn. If you wanted to tack it so that it doesn't come down, then you could obviously just do a few little stitches at either side and it would just keep that brim in place. But that is it for the main body of the hat. I will very quickly now attach my pom-pom. so that you get to see the finished result. Okay, so you can see we have got our two distinct strands here, so I'm just going to thread up one of them and just grab your hat and get the sort of position that you're going to want your pom-pom to be in. So obviously try and make sure it's central, and you're literally just going to feed this needle down into your hat. It doesn't need to be done with any great accuracy at this point. You simply want to pull that string through. And then again with the other one, you don't want to do these at the same time, you want to do them separately into different parts of your hat. Just hold this string while you do this next bit. So hold the string so that you can see where you've gone in from with the previous one, and attach the other one. So go through a different part of the top of the hat, so about 1/2 inch to 1 inch apart, and again feed that down into your hat. And just give it a little wobble, make sure it's where you want it to be on your hat. And then just turn your hat inside out just for a second, and you can see here we've got our two ends. And you want to knot these ends together. You want to do it quite tight because you obviously don't want your pom-pom to go anywhere. Okay. And then at this point you want to simply thread your thing back on, and you simply now just want to hide these tail ends. It is as simple as that. Pull your strings through separately, knot them tightly together, and then weave in these little cords so that they are a little bit more secure. Again, no great skill or accuracy required with these bits. So make sure you do them both into different parts of the hat, purely so that you don't have loads of ends in one bit. Just work that tail through, and then at this point I'm just going to knot again, but not necessarily very tightly. I'm simply just going to knot the ends together and snip off. I'm not going to snip right next to the knot because obviously I don't want any chance of it coming undone. So I'm just going to leave 1 centimetre or so away from that knot. And then again, turn your hat the right way. If you've tacked your brim by this point, you won't need to faff about with it like I keep having to do. But there is my beautiful pom-pom attached, and I think it looks really nice, really sweet. So there we have it with the beautiful pom-pom winter bobble hat. I really do hope that you've enjoyed this tutorial, that you've found it useful, and remember, check out the description box for all of the relevant information regarding the sizing. And yeah, I am thrilled to bits with this beautiful rainbow pom-pom hat, and I know my daughter is going to be very happy wearing this for school. So thanks as always for watching, and remember to subscribe so that you don't miss out on any of my weekly videos. But that's it for this one, and I will see you again soon. Bye for now.